Hello and welcome to Clover Culinary. I'm Lady Clover Honey and thank you so much for stopping by my kitchen here in Jersey City. Tonight's recipe we're going to make is Welsh Rarebit. Not Welsh Rabbit, there's no bunnies or bunny meat in this recipe. Welsh Rarebit is a delicious seasoned creamy cheese sauce, seasoned with beer and spices and butter, and so you know it is going to be good. Now it comes from Wales. The recipe is like hundreds of years old. And Wales is on the island of Great Britain. It's part of the United Kingdom. It's just west of England and south of Scotland, and it's a wonderful little country, and this is the recipe that we know a lot here in America. My grandmother used to make this recipe and she was from Wales, and it is good. Like I said, it's a seasoned, cheesy, rich cheese sauce, and it's usually served over toasted bread. It's seasoned with mustard and some beer, some heavy cream, some paprika, and a little bit of cayenne pepper, and of course Worcestershire sauce, which is a malted, fermented condiment, which is really good. This is from England. And it's pronounced Worcestershire. People don't really know how to pronounce it because it's not pronounced how you see it spelled. It's not Worcestershire, it's just Worcestershire. But it's a really great seasoning. Okay, now we'll start with the butter. So first heat up your pot. And put your butter in the pot, about 3/4 or a half of a stick of butter, depending on how much you like butter. Now, of course, every time you cook with butter, you have to be careful because butter burns easily, and we do not want burnt butter. Nobody wants burnt butter. It doesn't taste good when it's burnt. So stir it over like a medium heat, or medium to low if you're the type that burns your butter a lot. Okay, when the butter is almost melted, then you add your flour in. I have about 2.5, 3 tablespoons of flour, and I'll add this to the butter. And we'll mix it into a paste. Actually, they call this a roux. Butter and flour paste is called a roux. And of course, we'll just mix it together. Just make sure that the flour does not turn brown. Once it gets pasty and golden, we'll add some of the other ingredients. And there we have our nice golden paste that we call a roux. So once we have our roux paste made, we'll add our milk. This is actually half and half. You could use heavy cream or half and half. Or if you don't have, you could use whole milk, but you cannot use skim milk. We'll add this nice half and half cream to it. And after that, we'll add our mustard. We'll start to season it. The first seasoning we have is mustard. I had a Dijon mustard in the house, I used that, but you could use the plain, or you could use the spicy mustard if you like it spicy. We'll mix this in. Like I said before, always mix everything, don't leave it because you don't want it to burn, and it easily burns. So constantly mix it as you make it. And then you add your beer. So I have O'Doul's Light Lager, and just add a cup. Don't add the whole bottle, just add about a cup. Depending on how much you like beer, add more or less, adjust it to your liking. And like I said before, if you like the dark, stout, more bitter beer, you could add that too, whatever flavoring you like. Just add. So once we have that, then we'll add our Worcestershire sauce. So this is a tart. I love Worcestershire sauce. It's a tart. On the tart side, it's a really delicious condiment that adds a lot of good flavor to your food. It's from Worcestershire, England. And then for seasoning, I like paprika. Add a little bit of paprika. And if you want a little bit of spice, but you only want a little bit of spice, you don't want to make this spicy, I'd like to add a little dash of cayenne pepper, just some spice. Just give it a little kick. And it offsets the tartness of the Worcestershire sauce and the mustard. Like I said, keep this on a medium heat. You don't want this to boil really hot, so keep it on a medium heat or maybe even a low heat if you want. Okay, so once this is all mixed together, you shut the heat off because we're going to add our cheese. And the cheese cannot be added to anything really hot because then it will separate. The fat will separate from the cheese meat or the cheese solids. And we don't want that to happen. We want to keep it all a rich, creamy sauce. So we've got a big bowl of sharp cheddar cheese. This is the preferred cheese, is sharp cheddar. And little by little, add about 6 ounces of cheese. This is more than that, but just a little bit at a time so the cheese does not separate. We want to keep our cheese together. So I add a little bit and stir it for it to melt. Oh, it's melting really good. I'll add a little bit more. Mix this in. Once you see that it's melting, not burning or separating, but just melting, like it's doing really good here. And you know you're doing good. Add a little bit more. A little bit at a time, don't add it all at once. So it's looking nice and creamy, so I'm just going to add the rest of the cheese that I have to it. You can never be too rich or have too much cheese, isn't that what they say, I think? So, and now that all the cheese is in, I'm just going to whisk it a little bit. Since I have my beautiful multicolored whisk now. And once the cheese is on, you might need to turn the heat back on to get it all to melt. So just always keep it on medium, and always constantly stir it, and it won't burn. It will be delicious. All right, so now it looks like it's done. It's looking good, smelling good. So now we're going to taste it, and of course it's going to taste really good because it's cheese. So turn the oven off, give it a final mixes, and then what they do in Wales and Britain, they usually pour it over toasted bread. And I have toasted bread right here. Use a thick bread to get all the sauce, and you toast it so the bread doesn't get soggy. I guess if you want, you could just use a slice of white bread and toast it, but you're better off getting a nice thick piece of bread. And then you just pour the cheese onto the toast. And there you have traditional Welsh Rarebit. But you could also put the sauce over potatoes. That's what they do in Ireland, or at least that's what they do at the Irish pub in my neighborhood. They serve it as a snack, the Welsh Rarebit sauce over potatoes. This is a baked potato, and some people could serve it over French fries too. Either way, it'll be delicious. So I'll just put this over a baked potato. And sometimes they put it over portobello mushrooms. Of course, this cheese is so good that no matter where you put it, it's going to be, what you put over it, it's going to be delicious. And there's a final step to this recipe before you eat it that some people do, but I don't usually do it. You could put this in the broiler and the cheese will get brownish on the top. You can eat it that way, but I don't think it's necessary to do that. I think it's just as good to eat it without broiling it first. But if you want to put it in the broiler for it till it gets brown a little bit, however you want to do it, either way is fine. Either way is delicious. So let me taste my Welsh Rarebit over toast. It is good. Of course it's good. Cheese is always good. But cheese mixed with beer and mustard and butter is heavenly. What a lot of people like to do, what I normally like to do, I couldn't wait to taste it, you can put a little Worcestershire sauce on top. And a little bit of parsley flakes on top. Some dried parsley to give it some color. Let me have another taste. So next time you feel like having something cheesy to eat, instead of having a grilled cheese sandwich, why don't you try making some Welsh Rarebit? It is really out of this world good, and you might like it. So if you like this recipe, don't forget to give me a thumbs up or hit the subscribe button to subscribe. And thanks again for coming into my kitchen at Clover Culinary and making some Welsh Rarebit.